It's we're coming to 10:05, so let's start and we'll carry on.
Good. Well, thank you, Glenn, and thank you for everyone for attending. This is Bob MacBean. I've been a partner in the Preston Willis Group for about 20 years, and the Preston Willis Group or its predecessor companies for about 20 years. And that company, fortunately, has expanded over the last couple of years to include partners now in the U.S., Silicon Valley area, Boston. We have affiliate companies in Australia, New Zealand, Dubai, South Africa, the Benelux countries, and we're looking at expanding in more countries. My personal expertise is in sectors like IT, which is the topic today, alternative energy, and environmental services and products. And first of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming. That's great. I hope you're going to get something of great value out of today's session. And I'd like to thank Bob Graham for hosting this. Thanks, Bob. We're going to be doing this for about an hour, roughly, 45-minute presentation. You're welcome through the chat facility of GoToMeeting to send in a question or a comment or something like that at any time during the presentation, either directly to me, Bob MacBean, or to the entire audience. Just click on which one you'd like, and I'll try to make sure that question or comment or issue that you're raising is weaved into the presentation as Bob Graham and Glenn do the slides. At the end of that 45 minutes, we'll open up the mics. You can actually then speak to any one of us or keep texting in questions. Probably tomorrow, we hope by tomorrow, we'll have, we're going to be sending you a link to some white papers covering this kind of topic, and there'll be a copy of the presentation available to you. We'll give you a link. We'll also send you an online survey. So, Bob Graham, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Bob. So I'm the other Bob on this call.
Yeah.
I've known Bob and Glenn for probably too many years, but a long time, and enjoyed working with them on and off on projects. So as you know, WavePoint's a full-service technology M&A company, and we're worldwide. You're in our database. That's how you got the invitation to this program. There's also 150,000 other people in our database across 23,000 companies worldwide. So today we have 4 clients in Australia, 5 or 6 in the US, a bunch of Canadians, of course, and the odd European. So we kind of live in the trenches, and every day are in negotiation mode on behalf of our clients, either sell side or buy side, and we do both. So as a result, we're very in touch with current valuations and what's happening in the marketplace. We sell to both large companies. OpenText bought a company from us a couple of years ago, et cetera, et cetera. But most transactions and most of our clients are under $10 million. And typically we sell them to, well, up to say OpenText's size of about $3 billion. But a common buyer for us is 100, 200, 300 million of revenue. Now, why PWG and WavePoint? Well, we get a lot of distressed calls, as in, Bob, I need to sell my company. Shareholders are fighting. The board has decided. I'm tired of this business. I can't make any money, et cetera, et cetera. That's absolutely the wrong time to come and say, Bob, help me sell your company. So the logic behind working with PWG is to better prepare a client for that ultimate exit, be it 1 year, 2 year, 3 years out. And that takes a time, planning, and effort. And I think you'll really enjoy what you're going to hear after I get off on what PWG can offer you to improve your asset value. Okay, so because we negotiate for a living, of all of the things that we talk to buyers about, there's kind of four core pillars. They always want good people, in particular subject matter expertise. For example, I talked to a large buyer last year. They were hiring 30 people a month in supply chain software, and they couldn't hire enough. And they actually said, we might buy your company, just your client, my client, just to get the people. So they're always looking for good people. And that's both technology, but more importantly, sector knowledge. Number two, good clients. Don't have to have large enterprise. SMB dominates the economies of the world, and a lot of people target the SMB market. But more importantly, you got to have revenue, recurring revenue, ideally on multi-year contracts from your clients, as opposed to only 60% of my clients are on maintenance. That type of level. Good technology. I'd say 2 years ago, SaaS cloud was a trend. Today, it's absolutely mainstream, and it's very important. I get buyers today who say, if it's not SaaS cloud, don't even send it to me. The company is going on a cloud strategy, and we won't buy anything that's not cloud. And good technology gives you good competitive barriers to entry. So if you're ahead of the pack in what, mobile enablement, cloud product, common technologies such as .NET, Java, and C versus Perl or Python or some of these other things, that's always going to help being sold. And finally, good financials. But it's not all about financial. In fact, I would weight these probably 50% financials, and the other three would rank 50% as well. But they want to see a solid track record of growth, both top and bottom line. Consistency. Often we have to say, gee, my client had a dip last year. Well, what happened? And that's kind of like opening up a wound. So consistency, and then if you had to take one thing to your banker, it's recurring revenue, because that means you don't have to go out and sell to live. I have clients who have recurring revenue of 70%, and that's just excellent. So that's in general what buyers want. Now, they want a lot of other things too, but generally that's what they're looking for. So if we just looked at current software evaluations, and you probably noticed that other than maybe Nokia being bought and a few other things where people overpay, valuations are actually down from 2008. No, they're not down a lot, but it's a much more sober marketplace. They want proven track record, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there'll still be an Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if we talk about regular software companies doing regular stuff, let's take one as an example of $1 million. What I say to my clients is, we're going to start with 1.5 times revenue. So your $1 million company is going to get you $1.5 million, assuming everything's average. Now, if you've got price enhancers, the price will go up. So what are some value enhancers? Well, probably the key measurement in any industry is revenue per employee. Now, in our industry, the North American tech industry, that number is $150,000 per FTE, full-time equivalent. If you're under that, like if you're, say, 100, then by definition, that speaks to your average productivity. If you're over 150, by definition, you're going to be profitable, your productivity is very high, you're obviously doing some smart things. Another value enhancer is recurring revenue. Another value enhancer is cloud technology. List of clients that impress the buyer. And geography is important in the following way. Buyers often want to enter a new geography. So if you've got an office in Canada and Boston, that's often very positive, especially for American buyers. If you're in Australia, that's a detractor and I have 4 clients in Australia, unless somebody wants to enter Asia via Australia, in which case it becomes quite positive. Now, what are some value detractors? If you have no growth or slow growth, i.e. less than 20% a year, that by definition signals to the market that you're struggling if you're not profitable. And I talk to a lot of people that are break even, or they're just about to be profitable, and the marketplace today puts a big discount on that, i.e. you're not proven. Last but not least, if you're in a crowded sector, what's an example? EDI. Well, if you're trying to sell an EDI company today, that's very difficult. Why? Because everybody is using an EDI vendor, and what's happening is price discounting. And so it's very hard to A, sell it, or B, get a premium. So if your sector is crowded with tons of competition that are discounting, and it's an older sector with older technology, that's tough. That's tough. So those are some value detractors. Oh, I'd say another one is if you're reliant heavily on open source technology, in other words, the free stuff, not the free stuff you sometimes pay for it, buyers sometimes don't like that. And if it's over, say, 5% of your code, they put a discount on it. Last but not least, a value detractor can be location. I lost a deal 2 years ago. The R&D was in St. Petersburg, Russia. And just as we were selling the company, some Russians hacked the buyer's and large public company's website. They killed the deal. Now, that doesn't mean those Russians aren't good developers, but sometimes location of R&D is important. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Yep. I'll turn back to Bob or Glenn.
It's Glenn Myers. I'm with the Preston Willis Group and have been for, just as Bob MacBean, with Preston Willis or the predecessor companies for about 20 years. My focus has primarily been the tech sector for my career, and we're going to spend the rest of our time in the presentation talking about valuations, maximizing your business valuation, how to unlock some of the hidden issues around valuation, and how to minimize any of those detractors that you might have in your business that Bob Graham mentioned. Preston Willis Group, before I start, I just want to give you a quick minute on Preston Willis Group. We have company life cycle focus. We work with primarily technology companies in various phases of their growth. We help them enter new markets. We have clients that we have worked for that are offshore, and we've established them in the U.S. market. We have a lot of our focus around increasing the top line revenue, as well as what we're going to talk about today, which is improving the asset value of your company and getting positioned for some kind of liquidity event, whether it's selling a company or merging with someone else, or various other ways that you can get liquidity. So when we talk about the value of the company or the valuation, it's, as you know, relatively simple to look backwards and take a multiple of trailing 12 months revenue or trailing 12 months EBITDA. What we like to help our clients do is define value as the ability of their business to dependably generate revenue and profit into the future. So we need to have a way to do that that's sound and objective and stands up to scrutiny by outsiders coming to negotiate either for acquisition or for merger, or it could be the banker coming in to determine whether or not you're eligible for additional financing. So there's lots of reasons why you want to look at your valuation and improve it. If you're on the buy side of an equation, if you're using Bob to buy a company, you're going to want your valuation to rank very well against the company you're trying to buy, just so that you give up less of your equity to buy them. And obviously, if you're selling, you want to get the highest dollar possible. But there are other things that you might be doing in your company that would require you to pay attention to your asset value. If you're reorganizing or merging or renovating the business, you want your valuation to be as high as it possibly can. So we can help you determine how to get all the gears and cogs of your business running in the same direction, get them all tuned up so we can increase the value of your company. We operate using some technology and processes that allow us to do a quick 90 to 120 minute business value assessment. We estimate the transferable enterprise value, that is the value of the company in its ability to continue to generate revenues and profits. We look at the potential value, that is the value the company would have under ideal circumstances. We look at the value of your company and we determine what the value gap is. We identify what the red flags are. Those are the items within the valuation that must be fixed in order to move forward. And we provide a roadmap to improve the value. Now, we do all of this using 18 drivers for enterprise value. 9 of these are internal and 9 of them are external. And we break the business down into these particular segments. We go through a process where we ask you only 2 financial questions. The first is your top line revenue and the second is your EBITDA. The only other thing that we have to determine is your industry segment, and in this case we're talking to technology and software companies. But our database covers all the SIC codes, and we can isolate by SIC code to determine the value. The database also contains normal business valuations by sector, both from the public knowledge and also from our internal experiences, and these are all in the database that we use. So the first pass through, we have the 18 value driver categories, and we ask a single question for each value driver. So if this particular example, we picked the barriers to entry category, and you have a single question, you have 5 choices for the answer, and you pick the answer that you want. So we go through each of the value drivers 1 question at a time and catalog the answers. What the software does is it assigns a normalized value for your company based on the industry you're in, and calculates what the range of EBITDA multiples might be based on a very bad and a very good situation, and plots where the average is. Once you have completed with us the 18 questions, the software then assigns a rating from 1 to 100 based on your answers to the questions, and then calculates where you are on the value curve. It gives you the potential value you could get if you were at the maximum range, and shows the current estimate based on the answers to the questions and the algorithm that's been applied to that data plus your financials. Now, the algorithms and the processes have been developed over 14 years at MIT, and these are proprietary algorithms that are now used within this software product. The dashboard that you look at as the user, and we look at as your advisor, shows the industry you're in, has the company information on revenue and profits, shows the enterprise value potential, the estimate and the gap, the rating that you've been assigned, indicates where the red flags are in the bottom right corner. These things have to be fixed in order for you to improve your value, and gives a list of critical drivers and assigns a value gap to each one of those drivers. So you can then take a look at a report and determine which actions you want to take first to improve your position. The key to this is shrinking that value gap. In this particular example, we have a value gap of $3 million, and we'll go through where that value gap is and how we're going to fix it. This is the list of value gap drivers, and you can see at the very top we have the sales and marketing driver, and it tells us that there's $1,870,000 worth of value if we can correct what's happening in the sales and marketing area. And it goes down through them. This particular one is shown from greatest to least, and there's something in each one of the value driver areas that needs to be corrected. We provide through the system and the processes a list of the tasks that have to be completed in order to fix that value gap. And we can list these tasks, as we had in the previous chart, by value, or more often people like to look at them by the, we call the bang for the buck. On the far right you'll see the sticks of dynamite, which would indicate that you can get more value for less cost in the largest bang for the buck category. So the 3 sticks of dynamite are going to give you a bigger return on your efforts. If you are in a situation where you are trying to tune up your value as quickly as possible, you obviously would go for the biggest bang for the buck first. If you're in a situation where you have a process going on in the company, you have a couple of years, you may do some other things first. So this allows you to make some decisions on how you want to implement the tasks to improve your valuation. Once you've gone through the questions the first time, there's a second round that takes you through 70 more questions and lists the tasks and allows you then to correct the problems. The only way that you get the problem corrected is by loading the documentation up into the vault that's part of the system. It's an online cloud-based system, so your documents are all stored in a common place within your version of the product, so that you can go back, and anybody working with you can go back and look at the documentation to make sure that everything is done. Now, typically when we work with clients, we would walk them through this process, and at the time when the documents are loaded up into the vault, we'd work with them to make sure that the documents are actually as they should be and are correct and do satisfy the requirement, and then they move on to the next task. The other thing I'd like just to show you on this is the dashboard has 5 tabs across the top. When you're using a system, you can move around this dashboard in any way you want. You have to do the first 18 questions, but once you've done that, you can dive into any one of the areas and drill down without going through all of them. And typically what happens is clients will do a very good and very quick job at correcting the problems in the areas that they're most familiar and most comfortable, and they'll have a difficult time in some of the other areas. And I mean, it's just human nature. We have clients that are engineering driven, and anything around product issues or technology, they're on it, they get the problems fixed right away. They pay less attention to sales and marketing and finance because they're less comfortable there. And so our role in this process is to help get you through those areas where you are less comfortable to get the process completed. We have a consultation offer that we give to our clients. We can take you through 3 or 4 of these value drivers and show you how the system works, spend some time with you, and determine whether you think this system will be of any help to you. So that was a quick overview. I'm sure there'll be some questions when we get into the question period. But in the meantime, I'll just turn it back over to Bob MacBean.
Thank you very much, Glenn. And again, if If that resonates well with any of you, please jump in. I think, Glenn, it's almost time to unmute people.
Everybody's unmuted now.
Unmuted, so you can jump in. You can jump in, or you. Okay, heard some background noise there. Or you can type in a question. As well, you can follow up after this. We'll be sending you a follow-up email with links to the white paper, etc., etc. Just respond to us then if you like. Anyways, you see a slide up on the screen. Those that are familiar with GoToMeeting, it's easy. There's a little chat box. Just type in something or just start talking. First of all, any questions from anyone? Lively group.
Oh, here's I have a chat from a few chats here. Let me just take a look and then I'll answer the questions. One from Payman. Where are we located? We have offices in Toronto, Boston, San Francisco, and we have affiliates in Dubai, South Africa, Benelux, and Australia, New Zealand. But Bob MacBean and I, who are on this particular webinar, are both located in the Toronto area.
And Bob is in Toronto.
Yeah, Glenn, there's another.
I'm sorry, I got some feedback on that.
Maybe you can handle the next question there first. There's one from Andrew.
Andrew, your multiples appear low for a technology company. The multiples in the presentation may not have applied to a technology company. That was just there are some screenshots I put together. But we have found that in almost any industry, when we go through this system, we are within a 5 to 10% range of the value. This is not designed to replace a valuation that you would need if you were about to enter a transaction, or if you had partners who were trying to dissolve a business. You still need to get that official valuation. What this is, excuse me, what this is designed to do is to help you get as close as possible to that maximum valuation, and not have any surprises when it comes time to get that valuator in.
I think also, Glenn, the whole point of going through this exercise using the software, the templates, etc., is to show that there is some kind of a gap. It's not a tool to get the absolute value, precise absolute value of in anyone's company. It's to show that there is a gap. There always is a gap, and what might be done about closing that gap. That's the key. And there's always a significant gap. Believe me, we haven't run across a company yet where there isn't a gap.
Most companies come in about the middle of that rating range, somewhere between 45 and 55%. There are no two that are alike in terms of what has to be done with them, in terms of where the tasks lie, but generally there's emphasis on one part or another of a company, which tends to drive activities, which tends to skew the valuations one way or the other.
Glenn, do you want to handle the fee structure from?
Yeah, there's a couple of fee structure questions. The basic fee that we have for an annual license to the software, the training and the consulting that goes with taking you through the software, helping you with the tasks and the roadmap, it's a time frame that would generally take somewhere first cut somewhere between in our experience 6 and 9 months. Our fee structure for that is $36,000 paid over the 6-month period, and that gives you the software gain and the consulting for the first year. The second year, there's a license fee for the software that doesn't come with consulting and is considerably lower if you continue in the second year. Most companies, I would think, once they get into this kind of a routine and into this kind of a regimen, they would want to keep using the software because they can keep everything up to date. The value of this, we found in companies as well, is if you have a situation where you're trying to do a management reorganization or trying to get all the management on the same page. This kind of a tool really helps you do that. So once you've gone through it with your management team, it gives them a discipline to continue to work in your business.
It gives you a lot of very good business metrics to drive the growth of the business. It also gives you a virtual data room where most of the documents you would need to do any kind of M&A work, any kind of an investment if you're seeking growth capital or additional banking, or you're going to do a merger with somebody. All that data is now available to you. You're going to look a lot smarter than the next guy when you finish this process, and if you keep it up, and that can drive value. It can also drive a feeling for the people on the other side that you're very transparent. And transparency, honesty, openness, whatever in that kind of work, the investment M&A field is very critical, as most of you would know. Any other questions, verbally or in the chat box, that come to mind? Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming. We will send you the presentation in video replay. We have a couple of white papers that we're sending out. One is some M&A survey results. Now, admittedly, these came out of the U.S. market, but they have some interesting insights there. And a paper on transferable enterprise value, the importance of it, which I'm sure you know, as well as how it's calculated and the background. And if any of you, as we said before, if any of you would like to spend an hour with us, we can do a Skype call. Depending on where you are, we can do a visit. We'll get into drill into some of these concepts more deeply and have the discussion that's specific and relative to your business. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you, Bob, for hosting it.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.